So here's the question that nobody dares to ask out loud about. You've felt it in the silence, haven't you? When the world gets quiet, when the distractions fade, when you're lying awake at night wondering why you feel so different, do you ever get the sense that you were born with something more? Something ancient, something vast, something that doesn't quite fit inside this ordinary life. That's not a delusion. It's a signal. A deep memory encoded in your soul, reaching across lifetimes and timelines, whispering. You carry a power that transcends this dimension, and not just one. There are seven inner forces that, if remembered and activated, can alter the fabric of your reality and the collective experience of humanity. This isn't fantasy. It's not mysticism dressed up in pretty language. This is something primal. Something encoded in the very blueprint of your consciousness. And the strange part is, you may already be using these powers without even knowing it, like an ancient instrument buried in the sand, humming soft notes through your life, waiting for you to dig it up, dust it off, and play it fully. But before we can talk about these powers, we have to talk about why most people never discover them. The truth is, this world conditions you to forget. From the very first breath, you're told who to be, what to believe, what is possible, and what is not. You're trained to operate within a narrow bandwidth of reality, to chase validation instead of truth, comfort instead of purpose, certainty instead of mystery. And yet, the mystery still finds its way in, doesn't it? Maybe it happens in a dream that feels too real, or a sudden knowing that defies logic. Maybe it's a burst of energy in meditation, a synchronicity so precise it makes your skin tingle, or a pain in your chest that doesn't belong to this life. These are not coincidences. They are reminders, triggers, activation codes. And if you're watching this, then I know you're ready to remember. The first power you might carry is the power of perception beyond the veil. This isn't just intuition. It's not a gut feeling. It's the ability to see through illusions, to pierce the veil of this third-dimensional matrix and feel into the hidden patterns behind people, events, even environments. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift before anyone spoke? Have you ever sensed someone's pain before they told you what happened? That's not imagination. That's perception that reaches beyond physical senses. It's your soul reminding you that truth is not always visible, but it is always felt, and you were born with the radar to feel it. But that gift comes with pain too, doesn't it? Because when you see the truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's ugly, you can't unsee it. You feel the dissonance in people's words, the gap between who they pretend to be and who they truly are. And the world calls this sensitivity a weakness. But I'm here to tell you, it's your compass. It's not here to overwhelm you. It's here to guide you. The second power is the power of energetic influence. You've probably noticed it. People open up to you for no reason. Strangers tell you their life story. Friends come to you not just for advice, but for something deeper. They come to feel different, lighter, zen, safe. That's not just charisma. That's a frequency. And your presence is emitting it, whether you realize it or not. The question is, are you using it intentionally? Energy doesn't lie. And when you begin to master your inner state, your breath, your thoughts, your emotions, you begin to shift the energy of every space you enter. You can calm a room without saying a word. You can inspire someone simply by being who you are. And if you've ever felt like people project onto you, get triggered by you, or even idolize you too quickly, it's because they're reacting to your field, not just your face. You are carrying something ancient in your energy, and your journey is learning how to wield that responsibly. Let me ask you something that will land if you're ready for it. What happens to a world when someone remembers they are not just shaped by reality, but they shape it from within? That's the third power, the power of conscious creation. This is the power most people sabotage before they even allow it to unfold, because it demands more than visualization or manifestation rituals. It demands alignment, coherence, the courage to believe in a reality you haven't yet seen, and the discipline to act as if it's already true. You felt it before in those moments when time bends, when you think of someone and they text, when you speak your truth and the universe responds. That's not magic. That's law. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with a higher reality, reality bends. The simulation responds. And this power isn't reserved for saints or sages. It's available to anyone who remembers they are not passive participants in this life, but co-creators of it. And if you're still doubting that, I have to ask, who benefits when you forget your ability to choose?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The fourth power is subtler, but perhaps the most important, the power of emotional alchemy. Most people run from their emotions, suppress them, medicate them, but not you. Maybe you've always felt deeper. Maybe you've cried over things others barely notice. Maybe you've carried grief that doesn't belong to just this lifetime. That's not a flaw. That's a portal, because deep within every feeling is a frequency. And when you stop resisting your emotions and start feeling them consciously, you unlock a furnace of transformation. Emotions are energy in motion, and when you learn to transmute anger into action, sadness into compassion, fear into insight, you become unstoppable. Not because you don't feel, but because you feel fully and still choose your response. That is spiritual maturity. That is emotional wizardry. And if you've survived the depths of your own darkness and still found your light, you've already begun mastering it. These powers are not fantasy. They're not fiction. They're you. They've always been you. The only question now is, are you finally ready to remember the rest? There's a reason time sometimes moves differently around you. A reason why, in certain moments, you feel outside of the clock, outside of the calendar, like the present moment stretches wider than it should, like you're standing in a pocket of eternity. That's not a glitch. That's not your imagination. That's a glimpse into the fifth power you might carry, the power of temporal fluidity. It sounds like science fiction, but it's actually spiritual fact. You see, when your consciousness reaches a certain frequency, the rules of time begin to bend, not because you're breaking reality, but because you're finally syncing with a higher reality. One where time is not linear, but elastic. One where presence becomes a portal. Have you ever noticed that when you're deeply aligned, when you're creating from your soul, or speaking truth, or loving without resistance, time disappears? Hours feel like minutes. The moment becomes alive. Your senses heighten. That's not just flow state. That's dimensional resonance. Your energy is syncing with the quantum field, where intention folds time and presence rewrites the rules. This is why chosen ones are often misunderstood, because while others are racing the clock, you're learning to collapse it. When you act in alignment with your soul's timing, things happen faster or slower exactly as they need to. You don't chase opportunities, you magnetize them. You don't force outcomes, you flow into them. But this ability comes with a responsibility. You must learn to trust divine timing, even when it doesn't match your ego's timeline. That's where the real mastery lies. Can you surrender the illusion of control and allow life to unfold not just for you, but through you? Can you accept the delay as part of the design? Because often what feels like a detour is actually an acceleration in disguise. Energy must be aligned before manifestation becomes visible. And those who carry this power learn to live beyond the clock. They learn to move when the energy says go, not when the world says now. And here's where it gets even deeper. This temporal fluidity isn't just about your own timeline, it's about others' timelines too. The sixth power you might carry is the power of quantum connection. It's the ability to connect with others not just emotionally, but energetically across time, space, and even dimensions. Have you ever thought about someone intensely, only to receive a message from them moments later? Have you ever felt someone's presence, even though they were miles or years away? That's not coincidence. That's quantum entanglement, and your soul knows how to navigate it. This power allows you to feel people before they speak, to hear what's not said, to touch hearts without physical contact. It's why empaths, mystics, and healers often feel things they can't explain, because your consciousness is not local. It's non-linear. You're not bound by location, and neither is your impact. This is why your words matter, your thoughts matter, your energy matters, because they ripple beyond what your eyes can see. You're not just living in the world, you're affecting the grid. When you begin to own this, you become incredibly deliberate with your presence. You stop giving your energy to places where it's drained. You stop internalizing emotions that aren't even yours. You develop spiritual hygiene, not out of fear, but out of reverence. You begin each day not just asking, "What do I need to do?" but "Who do I want to be a portal for today?" Because you realize your very existence is a transmitter. And that brings us to perhaps the most mysterious and yet most natural of all the 7 powers, the power of dimensional memory. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and remembered them, even though you've never met? Felt drawn to a place you've never visited? Had a dream that felt more real than waking life? Or a memory that doesn't belong to this life at all? That's not fantasy. That's soul memory. Your consciousness is multidimensional. Parts of you exist in other realms, other timelines, other lives. And sometimes, when the frequency is right, those memories bleed through. Not to distract you, but to activate you. This is why some of the things you long for don't exist in this world yet. You've seen them. You've lived them. You carry blueprints from other dimensions, wisdom from other incarnations, visions of futures that haven't happened yet but could, if someone like you remembers. That's why your path often feels strange, why you don't fit into the boxes, why you question systems others blindly follow, because you remember something else, something purer, something real. And your mission, if you're brave enough, is to bring fragments of that higher reality into this one. Let me ask you this. What if the gifts you've been hiding are not flaws to fix, but fragments of a future that only you can birth? You might not have language for it yet. You might not know how to express it all, but your soul does. And the more you trust that, listen to that, follow that, the more everything begins to align. Not just for you, but for those around you. Because your awakening is not a solo act. It's a collective ripple. And when one person fully remembers who they are, it creates a space where others can remember too. That is impact. That is legacy. That is what it means to live as a multidimensional being in a human body. And guess what? You're already doing it. There's a moment in your journey where you stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and begin to ask, "What am I here to bridge?" That moment is the gateway to the 7th and final power, the most sacred, the most misunderstood, and yet the most necessary in this age of awakening. It is the power of embodied bridging, the ability to become a living portal between worlds. Not just metaphorically, but literally. In your presence, higher frequencies begin to anchor. In your body, ancient memories begin to awaken. And in your life, the earth begins to remember herself, because you are here not only to evolve, but to integrate. You see, we've been taught in fragments. Spirituality over here, science over there. Logic on one hand, intuition on the other. The divine above, the mundane below. But what if you are the meeting point? What if your very aliveness is the altar where heaven and earth shake hands? This 7th power is not about floating away into higher realms. It's about bringing the higher realms down into form, into breath, into language, into art, into healing, into movement, into business, into relationships, into everything. Because when you truly awaken, the division between sacred and secular collapses. Every moment becomes holy. Every act becomes spiritual technology. Have you felt that calling before? That sense that you're not just here to do good, but to be something different. That your presence alone is capable of shifting entire spaces, not because of how you vibrate. If you've ever watched someone cry just from being near you, if you've ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere tighten or lighten instantly, then you've already tasted this power. You are not just a person. You are a transmission. And when you anchor that truth into your body, you stop dimming yourself for comfort and start tuning yourself for impact. But here's the part most people miss. This power doesn't come from trying to be more spiritual. It comes from being more real, more embodied, more human. The more you descend into the truth of your body, into the wisdom of your bones, into the rawness of your emotions, the more of your multidimensional self you can hold. That's the paradox. You don't ascend by escaping the body. You ascend by fully inhabiting it. By becoming so present in your skin that the divine has no choice but to meet you here. That's why the most evolved souls are not the ones who escape pain, but the ones who alchemize it into compassion, who transmute their wombs into wisdom, who turn their life into a living codex for others to awaken through. And here lies the most profound truth of all. You are not just remembering these 7 powers for you. You are remembering them for the collective. You are part of a much larger pattern, a sacred architecture of consciousness that is being reassembled through each of us who dares to step out of amnesia and into alignment. You are not just becoming something, you are carrying something. Code this. Frequencies. Keys that unlock realities most people have forgotten even exist. And the moment you stop hiding, the moment you stop apologizing for your depth, your clarity, your dreams, your wildness, your knowing, you begin to broadcast those codes to the world. And yes, it might feel lonely at times. You might feel like no one understands the intensity of your inner world. But I promise you this, the loneliness you feel is not a flaw. It's a sign. It means you're on the edge of something vast, something sacred. Because portals are never crowded. They are quiet. They are precise. And they are chosen. Chosen not because they are better, but because they are ready. And if you've made it this far, you are ready too. So I want to ask you something that could change everything. What if your life is not a path you're walking, but a bridge you're building for others to cross into a new world? Because that's what it means to be a living portal. You become the terrain. You become the template. You become the space where others remember what's possible. You don't preach it, you embody it. You don't force it, you live it. Every healed wound becomes a doorway. Every truth spoken becomes a lighthouse. Every time you choose presence over fear, alignment over approval, soul over ego, you lay down bricks for someone else to walk across. This is not the easy path, but it is the real one. And when you begin living from this place not as a concept, but as a rhythm, you become unstoppable. Why? Because you're no longer powered by ego. You're powered by source. You're no longer chasing worth. You're channeling truth. You're no longer trying to escape this world. You are here to change it. Not through force, but through frequency. Not by shouting louder, but by standing stiller. Because when you truly embody who you are, the world rearranges around you. You are the portal. You always have been. So now we've arrived at the threshold, the point where understanding must become embodiment, where the 7 powers are no longer just concepts or curiosities, but living forces expressed through your choices, your presence, your reality. Because let's be honest, you didn't come here just to learn about these powers. You came here to live them, to turn wisdom into action, to turn remembrance into revolution. And that revolution begins not with some massive event, but in the quiet, consistent decisions you make every single day. The first activation is presence. And I don't mean some vague, spiritualized version of being in the moment. I mean radical, cellular presence where you are actually inside your life, not performing it, not escaping it, not numbing from it. To activate the power of perception beyond the veil, you must slow down enough to feel what's real. You must listen between the lines, trust the subtle, and stop gaslighting your own knowing. Start by asking yourself throughout the day, what's the energy behind this? What's the truth beneath the surface? Every time you ask that question, you're honing your inner sight. And slowly, what once felt like vague intuition becomes undeniable clarity. To activate the power of energetic influence, you must take accountability for your frequency. This means understanding that your nervous system is a tuning fork, and it's either broadcasting fear or freedom, contraction or coherence. Begin each morning not by reaching for your phone, but by tuning your energy. Breathe into your body. Set your intention not just for what you want to do, but for how you want to exist, how you want to feel. Because your life will always reflect your dominant state. And when you start owning that, you stop blaming the world and start sculpting it. The power of conscious creation demands courage. It's not about waiting for the universe to deliver your dream, it's about becoming the version of you who already lives it. This means making decisions not from your circumstances, but from your vision. Ask yourself, what would my future self choose right now? How would they walk, speak, lead, love? Then do that. Not tomorrow, now. Because every time you act from future identity, you collapse the timeline between who you are and who you are and who you are becoming. Emotional alchemy. That's your daily fire walk. You activate it by feeling everything without judgment, by crying when you need to, screaming if you must, and then really listening to what that emotion is asking of you. Don't bypass it. Don't spiritualize it. Sit with it. Let it teach you. And then transmute it into fuel. Every emotion is a messenger. And when you stop resisting them, you become a master of your inner world, and nothing on the outside can control you. Temporal fluidity is activated through alignment. When your thoughts, actions, and energy match your soul's rhythm, time bends. So instead of hustling, learn to listen. Your intuition will tell you when to move, when to rest, when to leap. Trust that timing. Honor it. Stop comparing your path to others. You are not late. You are not early. You are right on time for your own unfolding. Quantum connection is activated through intention. Speak to the people you love even when they're not in the room. Send energy. Pray with your whole presence. Visualize healing, peace, and clarity moving through your connections. Because your love is not limited by distance, and your thoughts are not isolated. You are connected to a vast web of souls, and every time you offer love, you amplify the whole grid. And finally, the power of dimensional memory is activated through trust. Trust the dreams that don't make sense. Trust the callings that seem irrational. Trust the symbols, the synchronicities, the strange pulls toward ancient places or mysterious people. Your soul remembers, and when you stop dismissing those memories, they become maps. They lead you not away from this world, but deeper into it, so you can bring the forgotten codes of other lifetimes into this one. Now, here's the most important truth I can leave you with. You don't need to wait for some perfect moment to live these powers. You don't need more certifications, more books, more validation. You are already qualified by your existence. The question is no longer, do I have these powers? The question is, will I choose to live like I do? Will you speak when your voice shakes? Will you love when it's easier to guard? Will you trust your vision when no one else sees it yet? Will you walk away from what drains you, even if it's familiar? Will you stand in your light, even when it blinds others? Because the truth is, the world isn't changed by those who talk about their potential. It's changed by those who embody it. And that's you. If you've made it to this point, you're not just curious, you're called. Not to be perfect, but to be present. Not to be fearless, but to be faithful. Not to escape the world, but to transform it from the inside out. So here you are. 7 powers, infinite timelines, 1 life, your life. Now the only thing left to ask is, what will you create with it? Let's find out.